What's up everybody? I have a real quick announcement before the video starts. So a lot of you guys have been asking for a while now to make merch of the hoodie that my character wears, and I was finally able to get one together, but it's only going to be here for the next 10 days and there is a limited quantity available. The quality on these is really good. This isn't like regular YouTuber merch quality. These are super durable and really soft, and they're really comfortable to wear as well. So I'll make sure to put the first link in the description. And just by you guys watching my videos is honestly more than I could even ask for. But if you wanted to do something extra to help support the channel, then this is a really great way to do so. But yeah, they're only going to be available for the next 10 days and there's going to be a limited amount available. And once they're gone, they're not going to restock or anything like that. And if you end up getting one, make sure to message me or DM me or tag me on Instagram, so that way I can personally thank you for the support. And yeah, let's get into the video. So a couple of years ago in my senior year English class, the teacher tells us one day that she has this new idea that we're going to try, where we're supposed to find a poem and everyone has to present it to the class and explain the meaning. I immediately do not like this idea. We gotta give a whole presentation in front of the entire class about the meaning of a poem. Come on, nobody wants to do that. And then you gotta actually be prepared for it so you don't look like a clown in front of everyone trying to make up something on the spot. But it's not like she was really giving us an option. So the first week of this rolls around, and by the time I was walking into class, I was not prepared at all. I had yet to even come up with a poem. So she starts calling up people to present in the order that the desks are arranged, and I'm sitting right there in the front, but I got no poem. So I'm kind of stressing out, scrolling through Google search results of good poems to analyze, trying to find at least something. And my friend starts stressing out too. He's like, "Bro, I don't even have a poem. Should I just take a 0 on the assignment?" I'm like, "Nah, you can't let your grade tank like that. Just look something up on your phone real quick, and when you have to explain the meaning, just try to come up with something on the fly." And he's like, honestly, I don't even care." And he seemed more relaxed, not as stressed anymore, and I see him pull out his phone and open up the Genius app. I'm like, "How are you gonna find a poem on the Genius app?" And he's like, "Just wait, this is about to be better than any poem." So he walks up to the front of the class, and on the day we're supposed to present a thoughtful poem with a deep meaning about life, this man just starts reading off the lyrics to "Man's Not Hot" by Big Shaq, and with the straightest face you've ever seen. Obviously, the teacher is expecting to hear some actually deep, meaningful piece of literature that's gonna stimulate our brains. I mean, no disrespect to Big Shaq, although everyone knows Shakespeare puts the lit into literature, Man's Not Hot was still a beautiful piece of literature in its own way. William Shakespeare better make way for William Shakespeare over here. But this dude gets up there and goes, "Yeah, my poem today is Man's Not Hot by Big Shaq." The teacher's sitting in the back of the room looking at him, waiting for him to start. And so he just starts reading the whole thing word for word. "Yo, Big Shaq, the one and only, man's not hot, never hot. Skrrra, skitty cat cat boom," like with sound effects and everything. So I'm trying to keep a straight face through all of this, and at this point, the teacher is sitting in the back of the class trying to understand what's going on, probably trying to remember, like, Big Shaq, there was Shel Silverstein, Edgar Allan Poe, but I don't remember no Big Shaq in the mix of people considered greatest poets of all time. So he's up there, he keeps going. 2 + 2 is 4, -1, that's 3, quick maths. Everyday man's on the block, smoke trees. And I turned to look at her where she was sitting in the back of the class, and the look of pure confusion on her face, just trying to figure out what was going on, was almost funnier than the reading of the poem in the first place, and she just kept looking more and more confused as he kept reading. There were some points in the song, like when he stood up there and read off, "Hold tight my man, he's got the frisbee, I trap on the phone, moving that cornflakes, Rice Krispies." I'm like, okay, there's no way she's still letting him read this. She definitely didn't recognize what the song was, which was surprising because she was barely older than us. We were like 17, 18. She was only like 23. I mean, it's not like she was one of those older teachers that could barely operate technology. I remember I once had a teacher that typed a Google search into a Word document and then wondered why it wouldn't search when he pressed enter. But anyways, I was surprised that she wasn't at least aware of the song. I mean, she probably would have stopped him if she was, but instead she just let him read through the entire thing. Man's really just stood up there with a straight face and said, "Yeah, today I've picked a really deep poem to analyze," followed by, "Yo, Big Shaq. 2 minutes ago, the person before him is reading some deep poem, talking about, yes, in this classic poem written in 1843, the author uses the waves of the ocean as a metaphor to demonstrate that life sits atop the building blocks of time." I know that made no sense, but you know what I'm trying to say. They're explaining like the most complex triple metaphor you've ever heard in your life. We went from that to
The ting goes.
So he finishes reading through the entire thing, and he's like, yeah, so this poem has a very profound meaning. When Big Shaq said, man's not hot, the deeper meaning of this is that under no circumstances will he take off his jacket. The reason being because man never gets hot. Like, duh. And people are trying to explain to her that this is not in fact some intellectual piece of literature from 100 years ago and is basically just a meme song, but she was one of those types of teachers. She was chill and she just kind of let the whole thing slide. But you could tell she was a little, not annoyed, but maybe just dissatisfied that her poetry day did not go fully as she envisioned because of this dude causing a disruption like that. And then at the end of that class, she mentioned something about in the future, nobody is allowed to pick this one particular poem. I guess it was some really common poem that the same 4 people had picked on that day, and I didn't even realize 4 people did the same poem. To be honest, I wasn't fully paying attention. I was tired from the night before. I mean, it's not like listening to poetry was helping to keep me fully alert. So I wasn't even sure what poem she was talking about, and I didn't really think much of it when she mentioned it. I just kind of disregarded it. Fast forward to the next week, she says we're going to try the poem thing again, but this time she made a new rule where you have to have your poem printed out before class, so you couldn't just Google something last minute, probably to prevent another situation like this from happening again. I guess she was trying to, get people to actually prepare for her assignment. So again, people are reading their poems off, and this one kid gets up to the front and starts reading this one poem called Fire and Ice. And apparently, that was the poem that like 4 people chose the week before. But here this kid is now presenting none other than Fire and Ice again. And I don't know if he didn't pay attention or just forgot or what, but at this point she was getting pretty annoyed and she's like, really? I told you guys, out of 40 million poems ever written in the history of forever, the single poem that you couldn't do is Fire and Ice. And she goes on, she's like, yeah, everybody in every class, every year always chooses Fire and Ice because it's the shortest, easiest, most basic poem that requires no effort, and that's why I banned it. And I'm looking at this dude like, come on bro, you had one job, but nah, you had to go off and print the one singular poem that she banned. And then I looked down at my desk at my poem that I had printed out earlier in that day, and I don't know how I didn't notice this earlier, but I looked down and it's literally Fire and Ice. I didn't even realize. I'm like, oh no, like I just printed it out that morning in such a rush. I didn't even really remember or notice until like right then. So I'm trying to figure out what to do. I can't just look up another one on my phone because she said it had to be on a paper. And then she calls me up to go read off my poem. So I'm walking up there. I'm like, do I tell her now? Do I just start reading? I don't know what to do. I was panicking. I couldn't think straight. So I just go up there and I'm like, so my poem is actually a relatively common poem. You might have actually heard of it before. Again, although this is a more common poem, it's still a great one to analyze. A lot of great stuff in there called Fire and Ice. Not gonna lie, I got like 2 words into the first line and she's like, just go sit down. Don't even bother to keep going. And the worst part was, there was a 3rd person after me that had the same Fire and Ice poem. Bro, I think she was one more Fire and Ice poem away from, I don't even know what she would have done. But you might be thinking like, how is everyone coming up with this one same poem? And the reason is because basically all that everyone does is just go to Google and type in something super generic like good poems to analyze, click on the first link they see, and boom, short and simple, Fire and Ice right there. 10 out of 10 effort. And then everyone just ends up using that one. In fact, I literally saw this exact picture that was on my paper also printed on the other 2 people's papers. And this was probably what the 4 people from the previous week used as well. And that was the end of poetry day right there. She must have just thought, you know what? It's not even worth it to deal with this, and just got rid of the whole thing altogether.